Hi everyone, Chris Natzke here with Black Belt Leadership Speaking and Coaching with your Mind of a Champion Tip of the Week live on Facebook. Today I have a question for you. Are you challenged by too many mind? So you might be wondering what I'm talking about, but you'd also probably find it pretty natural that one of my favorite movies of all time is The Last Samurai. And for those of you who had the opportunity to see the movie, it's a story about a man named Captain Nathan Algren, who's played by Tom Cruise, who's a Civil War captain, and he goes over to Japan to help the Japanese government eliminate the last of the samurai. And during that time, he finds himself as a prisoner of war, and now he's deep in the woods of the Japanese jungle, if you will, or countryside, excuse me, and he's in the encampment of the main samurai, Kasamoto. And what happens during these several months that he's caught there in the winter is he assimilates into their culture. He learns their martial arts, he learns more of their customs, and he deals with a lot of his demons. So during that time, there's a real key scene in the movie where he is sparring with one of the top samurai. And they're doing wooden swords, which are called bokken, and they're sparring. And Algren, time after time, is getting thrashed and thrown around. He's getting more and more frustrated. And then during this scene, one of his friends, probably his only friend, a man named Nabutada, who is Kasamoto's son, comes up to him and he says these very distinct words. He says, "This for you. You are too many mind." And Algren looks at him and he says, "What do you mean?" He says, "Your mind, too many mind. You're focused on the sword. You're focused on your opponent. You're focused on all the people watching." He said, "Too many mind. You need to have no mind." And you see Algren say, "Okay, I think I got this." And he centers himself. And now he begins to spar with the samurai and he's holding his own. Now he eventually succumbs to his superior skill, but there's a transformation that occurs. The transformation is when he allows himself to get centered and away from all the distraction, his performance goes through the roof and he also finds a deeper and more powerful part of himself. So it got me thinking, how are we in our everyday lives challenged by having too many mind? You know, all the distractions that we have, all the things that are rattling around. And when we find ourselves in those times in our lives, what can we do? So I have 3 tips for you when you're finding yourself in times of challenge, particularly overtaken by too many mind. And the first one is this, is breathe. Now we all have heard this time and again that breath allows us to center ourselves and help us to focus. But I think that sometimes we just pay lip service to it. So I want you to think about what many people do, all the way from yogis and martial artists, all the way to marksmen in the military, which is called box breathing, which is to inhale through the nose for a count of 4, hold it for a count of 4, and then exhale for a count of 4, and then hold that for a count of 4. And continue to repeat that pattern. And for an extra benefit, if you find yourself super anxious, when you exhale, you do it through your mouth like you're breathing through a straw. And what that does, it allows us to center ourselves, because when we're in that adrenalized state, it's there for us to be in fight, flight, or freeze, and that's oftentimes when we don't make the best decisions. And think about the times that you were rattled and maybe you said something or did something that really ended up not being the best thing in the long term. So the first thing is to anchor with the breath. Number 2 is to ground yourself in your body. You know, when we're rattling around in our heads and thinking about all the things that are going on, when we allow ourselves to get centered in our body, it grounds us and it helps us to become present. And one of the best ways to do that is to move. So, you know, if you're at your desk, if you can stand up and walk around or do some calisthenics or stretching, or even go out for a walk, it allows you to center. And if you're not able to move, and maybe you're in a meeting, just getting present with how you're sitting in the chair, right? Just feeling that. Or if you're standing up, your feet grounding on the floor, or even if you just place your hand on your chest and start breathing into your heart, allowing yourself to center in the body. And then number 3 is to focus on one thing. I mean, I don't know about you, but when I get myself wrapped up in too many mind, it's because I'm thinking about the past, I'm thinking about what's going on in front of me, and most of the time I'm thinking about all the things that are coming up that I'm worried about occurring. And so getting present and just focusing on the one thing in front of us. I mean, there's nothing wrong with planning for the future, but once you've got that planning done, focus on the one thing in front. And when that is dealt with, then the next thing, and then the next thing. And by being able to be present on the one thing in front of us, we start to transform what's going on. So there you have it, my friends. There's my little tidbits for you this week. If you ever find yourself in too many mind, that mind is racing, because we actually have the tools within us to be able to move through those most challenging times. And if you're like me, when we're able to do that, we move from being a worrier and of all the details that are flying at us to become a true warrior in dealing with life and its challenges. So there you have it, my friends. This has been Chris Natzke with Black Belt Leadership Speaking and Coaching. If you enjoyed this, please go ahead and like and share, and also make some comments if you'd like. I'd love to hear your comments on this, and we will see you next time on the Mind of a Champion Tip of the Week.